All right, welcome in, welcome back. We are back live on the Andre Duke Show. How is everybody doing? If you can do us the biggest favor and hit that like and subscribe button, that helps us a ton. Um, just trying to get everything set up. I apologize. Getting to it, the Lane Kiffin saga continues. Very, very interesting to say the least for the most part. Um, just getting that out there. Appreciate everybody who is jumping in. Um, we'll get the Kiffin stuff rolling. Not a whole bunch to really go over, I guess, from all the media outlets today. Basically had said it said that he's going to give an answer after the Egg Bowl, and that's just kind of what it is. Getting some of this stuff going. Oh man. Let me get this done. Get that there. Getting some of the stuff up and going. Sorry about that. Richie's going to join me shortly. Waiting on him. Got to see where he's at, but we'll go over some of the, I guess, major headlines going on in college football. You know, James Franklin named the Virginia Tech head coach. I'm just trying to get my stuff all in line here, but outside of that, it is Friday night. We got the games coming up this weekend. Probably have a hard out at 9 per usual. I got some other things to take care of. Let me get to it. So there's that. Hold on 1 second. Let me see where this guy is at. Back to TikTok Live. I would do the green screen thing, but also for you folks on TikTok, you're about 15 seconds ahead of the YouTube people. Also, phone line is open. Number to call 260-255-4069 is the number to call. Open kimono. The Brian Kelly stuff, I guess we'll go down the list here. The Kiffin decision coming after the Egg Bowl, which is, I mean, it's whatever, but not really shocked by that. It's kind of interesting, to say the least. Hold on. Richie's going to join us at a later time than usual. Let me text him back. Sorry, it's a little clunky in the beginning. But yeah, so the Kiffin decision coming after the Egg Bowl. My thoughts on that, I think that it's kind of, I hate to be that guy, but I feel like he's got all kinds of negative stuff built up. And I think the Ole Miss fan base, I mean, he put him through this in 2022 with Auburn. So there's that. Ethan says, "Go Pack, go." Appreciate you, my guy. So yeah, there's that. I don't know exactly how it's going to shake out. Whether he leaves, goes, stays. I think the Ole Miss fan base just wants an answer, to say the least, on the Kiffin stuff. I really just look at it as kind of a glass half full. It is what it is. But so we got that going. They're trying to put out there Lane Kiffin was in Baton Rouge. I find that funny. So there's that. Also, that's coming down after the Egg Bowl. Fine, whatever. James Franklin signs with, the contract details are out with Virginia Tech. 5 years, $41.75 million. So I'm sure that's music to Penn State's ears. They only got to pay him like $9 and some change. Penn State, I look at it as there's you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, really. But going over the Franklin contract details, after it was released, the deal runs through 2030. It is largely backloaded, with Virginia Tech on the hook for $6 million in the 2026 season, and then as the deal progresses, it goes up to $13.25 million. But there are perks for Franklin, including bonuses up to $800,000 annually. And based on Virginia Tech's TV viewership with the ACC's new revenue distribution, rewards schools with more viewership on TV. That's something the ACC, I guess, was trying to do. Largely, Franklin will also get more money for support staff based on the number of games Virginia Tech wins, regarding from the $200,000 increase for assistants from $125,000 for supplemental staffs for winning 6 games, up to $800,000 and $575,000 retrospectively for a 12-win season. So Franklin did do a good thing there. You're seeing that now more than ever, I think, in college football. Like Mike Elko talked about it. He's getting a ton of money for his staff. They're getting a lot of supplemental and the incentive programs, bonus programs. I think when you start tying financial rewards to everything that goes into the whole operation of college football, as far as the assistants go, I think that'll take you a long way, to be honest. I don't know what their end goal is, but I think James Franklin's going to bring a different mentality to Virginia Tech. I don't see how this doesn't work. He's out of the Big Ten. He doesn't have to play the boogeyman that is Ohio State. He doesn't have to play the boogeyman that is Michigan, that plagued him his entire tenure at Virginia Tech. So there's that. Also, moving on to the LSU saga that never quits. They have made an absolute mess of this, kind of, in my opinion. The way it looks, the Board of Supervisors, I guess, came out with a statement, says they're now formally firing Brian Kelly. He hasn't been there in a couple of months. There was a lawsuit filed on the 19th of November. LSU is claiming Kelly was fired for cause. I don't know. This is really, whenever I'm looking at this, it basically screams the factoid that I guess they're going to fire him for cause. I don't know how that's going to work necessarily, but I guess LSU is going to try to get the buyout reduced after he rejected the $25 million offer. He rejected the $30 million offer. And then the Board of Supervisors says that Scott Woodward did not have the authority to fire Brian Kelly, which I still contend, why did you let him do it more than anything? But also, there is that. Also, the phone lines are open. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call if you want to get your call in. Who do we have?
This is Jacob.
All right, Jacob, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind?
Yeah.
If I had to say something right now, I want Ohio State to beat Michigan on November 29th, 2025 in Ann Arbor.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that shakes out. That has been a big task for Ryan Day, to say the least.
Yeah. Definitely need to avenge the last 4 years. That's for sure.
When it comes to that, I think that Ohio State will most likely be big favorites in that game. We seen last year they were 28.5-point favorites, and it didn't go well, especially with Chip Kelly calling the plays, or there's a big mystery on who called the plays in that game. But I contend that Ryan Day's fingerprints were all over it, but they didn't beat Michigan, but they went out and won the whole thing. So there is that. But
yeah, unfortunately, I was at that game last year. I witnessed it firsthand. It was rough.
Oh, I'm sure it was rough. And I think that there's going to be something that's really going to change in college football as far as security-wise. I think you're seeing all kinds of stuff going on. You had the incident at Texas A&M with the state trooper, and then you had the Columbus City Police pepper spraying everybody. I think they got to come to a happy medium about this and get the players off the field.
I wholeheartedly agree. There's something to be said about a rivalry and mutual respect, and there's no place for that kind of behavior at the end of a game. And I understand Michigan came into Ohio State. They won. They beat us. But, flag planning and whatnot, it provokes events like you saw last year, and also across, like you mentioned, it happened in a lot of the rivalry games, just post-game skirmishes and fights that are just unnecessary, and it certainly takes away the respect factor, I guess, in the rivalry. I mean, you want to have that mutual respect. Like, there's no place for that. Show some respect, be humble, celebrate your victories, but don't take it out on each other.
Right. I think for the most part, people don't want to see rivalry week being at Thanksgiving, typically a weekend of thanks, what everybody's thankful for, and then we go out there and make a total mockery of the game itself. I think that you're going to see some drastic changes. And if Ohio State comes in there ranked number 1, if Michigan wins and the fans storm the field, that's going to be a zoo after the game.
Yeah, that would be quite a scene. I'm obviously not rooting for that scene, but that would be a scene like no other.
Because you're gonna have fighting. I don't care what anybody says. It's going to be chippy. Ohio State, Michigan's always chippy, just like the Iron Bowl between Alabama, Auburn, Florida State is going to probably be contentious because Florida State is relatively in the crapper right now. Florida, their roster has in large part quit on everyone. I just think where we're going here, they've got to legislate something to not have a complete and utter mockery the last week of the season.
I don't know. I'm thinking of a game. I know wasn't a rivalry game per se, but if you watched Florida State and Virginia, do you remember how quickly they stormed the field in that game? Like that was pretty dangerous. It made me think of that too. Just like some type of regulation when it comes to, getting the players off the field, and then you have fans storming the field. It definitely brings up safety concerns. I remember I watched that game and like, wow, they stormed the field immediately. You don't have any time for the players to, get off the field, and players are emotional after a game like that. And unfortunately that can provoke things to happen between players and even fans for that matter. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. Some type of regulation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And also you have you had the Castellanos getting flipped off. That was all over the internet. You had the Texas Tech kid grab the photographer because he didn't want his picture taken. There was all kinds of fans on the field at Arizona State, Texas Tech. I mean, they gotta do something. But I look at the Ole Miss thing. When Ole Miss beat LSU, they didn't storm the field.
Nope, they just sure didn't.
It was a big game.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about being humble in your victories, and you expect big time programs just expect to win. You don't see the Georgias of the world storming the field after they win a big game. Like Kirby Smart sets the standard there.
Right.
Ohio State, of course, if Ryan Day sets the standard, we're expected to win those big games. You don't see us really storming the field too much, or it's obviously if you're a team that's a huge underdog and you beat a top ranked team, yeah, you're going to see them storm the field because they weren't expected to win. But also there needs to be some type of controlled mechanism where people don't get hurt, or fights happen like we mentioned earlier on the rivalry games last year. Hopefully it's better this year,
right,
in that regard.
I think kind of for the most part where I'm at is that I look at it to where why not just get the visiting team off the field before anybody jumps on the field? I don't think that's too much of an ask. And furthermore, the security folks that regulate the games, I don't think they're equipped to deal with 20,000 18 or 19-year-olds to jump on the field. And a lot of the people that are ushers and security, they're older, they're just there, they want to go to the game and they love the university. They don't want to have to try to wrangle somebody to get them to not get on the court or field.
Right.
So I think that's going to be an interesting time. Looking forward to everything that comes with rivalry week. They actually have a pretty good slate for Friday, Black Friday as well. You have Texas A&M, you have Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and that's on the road in Starkville, especially with all the Lane Kiffin stuff swirling around.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested to see how those shake out. Especially, Texas is a team that was very much they had very high expectations going into the year, and they have the chance to have a say in the SEC race. With Texas A&M's trying to go for an SEC championship still, and if Texas knocks them off, that could impact that. So, I mean, they had that chance to do that to their rival.
Oh yeah,
So
I think the A&M thing is going to get really bizarre because the reason why I say that is because if Texas gets blown out, I think Sark leaves. Some people are not on that deal. A lot of people have Kiffin to Florida. A lot of people have Kiffin to LSU, but I think that for large part, if Texas comes open late, I think Kiffin will jump on the Texas thing. There's a lot of skepticism that says, "Oh, he won't do that." I don't know. I think Lane Kiffin will probably make $16 million a year to be the Texas head football coach.
it's a real. I could see that happening. He's had obviously he worked coached under Nick Saban in the past, and he's had some high profile jobs. I could see that happening, and me personally, I could see Steve Sarkisian going to the NFL.
I think that as well. One of the things that I look at that as typically the guy that is just by listening to other journalists talk, and one that I follow really closely on MPW Digital, he's really good at coaching searches, and he says over and over the guy that is normally the name that you hear the most smoke around first is typically not the guy who gets the job. And I think that's going to be fascinating because nobody thinks Texas will come open. And I think Texas will come open just for the simple fact if A&M blows them out, the Texas people are going to be highly, highly upset. And I don't think they'll be able to stomach that with the A&M people. So I think that Lane Kiffin is a whale of a name for any university, and I think LSU for the large part will get left in the lurch. I don't know if Kiffin coaches the bowl game, or not the bowl game, but in the playoffs. If they get a favorable outcome in Starkville.
This was one of my favorite parts of the season. You just so many, the stakes get so much higher, and like you alluded to with potential coaching changes, with in relation to outcomes of games, big time games that are coming up. It will be fascinating to see how that plays out. I wholeheartedly agree.
I guess since I seen your area code, I guess I started out the show by talking about James Franklin. Now, for the people that live in the Midwest, is anybody shocked that Franklin got fired at Penn State? There was people that had this like national outrage about, oh my God, they fired James Franklin. And I'm just like, the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, I was not shocked at all. I'm from the Columbus area, so I grew up around Ohio State and just I'm in the middle of Big Ten country. And, if you come in with high expectations, I mean, for God's sakes, if you lose a game at Ohio State, you're like the worst person ever. Look at how, last year, I know we were talking about James Franklin, but last year with Ryan Day, I was, I guess, one of the few fans that don't give up on him. I mean, he had trouble winning the big games. He certainly responded resoundingly by winning the college football playoff last year. But with James Franklin, I'm not surprised at all he got fired. And he lost to the Oregon game. They came back, but they for most of that game got absolutely dominated. I mean, they got fortunate to come back. They forced overtime and they lost. And then they lost to UCLA And as bad as they looked, defensively, because, when you think of Penn State, you think of a good physical defense, and they just didn't have it. And then they lost to Northwestern, and that was it. I mean, at home, they did not look good at all. And James Franklin just, I guess, he needed to go to a school. I mean, he went to Virginia Tech that, they may not have as high expectations, and he can still be successful in their eyes. But, when you're in big-time Big Ten football, you're expected to win those big games. So, with that being said, I wasn't surprised at all.
I think it was a combination of things. I think Penn State went absolutely all in on this year. They had Drew Aller. They go out and they get Jim Knowles. They spent a lot of money retaining the roster. And then when they lost the Oregon game, I was like, oh, no, this could be bad, because UCLA had fired their coach the previous week. They fired the coach the previous week, and then they got that coaching bump. And Jerry Neuheisel, you didn't know what he was going to run offensively. So, not that I'm making excuses for Jim Knowles, he basically was flying blind into a game. He didn't know what they had personnel-wise. They completely did everything out of the box when it came to that game plan, and I think that helped UCLA, gave them a big advantage, and it was just a big momentum swing. And then he goes home, doesn't get it on fourth down against Northwestern. Drew Aller breaks his ankle. I think the telling point there was, I listened to a couple of the beat writers in a post-game show, said as soon as they didn't get that fourth down, the athletic director walked off the field, and I'm just like, he's done.
Yeah. I remember watching that game, and you lose your QB1 that, he came back hoping to lead to, not only a Big Ten championship, but a national championship, and then you lose at home to Northwestern. And the way just the trajectory of the season has gone for them and was going for them at the time, he just, like you said, the writing was on the wall. Like, it's time to move on.
Also, I think I kind of try not to be this guy, but for some programs, when a guy stays so long, you could also run into maybe the university and the program face needs a new voice to lead it. And I think James had ample amount of time, ample amount of chances, but when you look at what he was going up against, he literally went up against two Hall of Fame coaches in his division, or in the Big Ten, between Ryan Day and Urban Meyer, and then even before that, Michigan had Harbaugh. That, a lot of people could say a lot of things about that, but Harbaugh won a lot of games at Michigan too, especially in the last 3 years. But we know how that whole thing worked out. But I think that Franklin was up against it, and then you add in the elements of USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA. Those typically aren't teams that they would have on their schedule. When was the last time Penn State made in back-to-back season West Coast trips? And I also think for a lot of these schools that opened up their conferences, or schools that jump conferences, it is just interesting to say the least, because it kills me, because there's going to be schools that get handed extra losses. Look at Texas, look at Oklahoma. They're not used to going from 10-2 to going to 9-3, 8-4. When was the last time Oklahoma went 8-4 and they didn't want to burn it down?
Yeah, you have to think back a long time on that one. Yep.
Which Texas, for the large part, we've seen it throughout the years. Nobody's worked out there, i.e. Tom Herman didn't work there. They ran Mac Brown out, and Mac Brown was the last one that actually won something of significance there. And then you have Stoops was at Oklahoma for years. He basically gifted Lincoln Riley that job. Lincoln Riley spits on Oklahoma to go to USC. Depending on what Kiffin does, I think Lincoln Riley jumps from USC to go to Baton Rouge.
That would be interesting. That would be very interesting.
I mean, but also if you're an Ole Miss fan, not to get back on the Kiffin thing, I think all the positivity that Kiffin built at Ole Miss, he is slow, well, not slowly, but he is 100% without a doubt ruining all the positivity that he built at Ole Miss with this whole saga.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see that. It really is. Because, I mean, ultimately, as the head coach, you want to channel that positivity and, keep it that way. And unfortunately, if it turns negative, it rubs off on your players and it rubs off on your program. And, it impacts not only the present season, but also recruiting. You want to attract good talent, and they don't want to play in a negative environment.
I also think when it comes down to the Kiffin stuff, I feel that Kiffin, what I realistically want, I think he wants to do is he wants to coach the playoffs, and he wants to take either the Florida or LSU job. And I don't think they're going to let him do that. Just based on everything that I've heard, because I think Ole Miss is going to hold him to an answer after the Egg Bowl. And if you watch his press conference on after the Florida game, it was super awkward.
Yeah, I would agree. It's kind of just like it almost turns into a conflict of interest at that point. Like, you want to still coach for us. We're trying to win a national championship. We're in the playoffs, but you're also thinking about possibly going somewhere else. So, which is it? Like you said, holding him to an answer. What do you want to do here? So.
Richie Williams in the chat says, "Who is this clown?" is what Richie said.
I know Mr. Rich.
Yeah, and I guess one last thing I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on this Brian Kelly situation down in Baton Rouge? Now, is that just bizarre or what?
I've never really been a huge Brian Kelly fan, just the way he has a lot. I mean, I've watched football for some years now, and the way he, the way he treats his players, kind of just like humiliates them. And for some, any type of big game that's come up, typically, he tends to fall short in them. And at programs like thinking of Notre Dame and LSU as most recent places he's been, and he hasn't been very successful. But never was a real big Brian Kelly fan myself. I remember seeing some of the recruiting videos with the one that was all over the internet. Him like the shining lights with the player. I thought it was really strange, but
yeah,
I'm not totally surprised he didn't work out in LSU personally. Because the SEC carries, much like the Big Ten, very high expectations, and he didn't live up to them.
And I think it's especially rough as the university. You ask people for money to acquire talent, and the talent doesn't deliver. But I'll leave you with this: you want to know how expectations and perception is reality? If you look at Brian Kelly's record at LSU, he was 34-14 and he got fired, right?
Right.
So a couple years before that, when Hugh Freeze went to Liberty, he was 34-15 and he lands the Auburn job. Talk about a big perception is reality.
That's certainly irony. And like you said, just, a place like Liberty 34-15 sounds amazing, but at LSU, that's, unacceptable, in relation to expectations. No, that's wild when you put it that way.
Oh yeah. So there is that. You got anything else for me?
Trying to think of anything else. Not a whole lot, really. Just looking forward to a good weekend of football. Where are you from, or where's your show from? I mean,
I'm based out of Indiana.
Okay. I'd just be interested to see how the rest of the season pans out for, I hope Ohio State and Indiana stay on the collision course to meet in the Big Ten championship. I think it'd be a really fun matchup. I hope, I'm going to say, I don't know if it's selfishly, but I hope my Ohio State Buckeyes can repeat and win another national championship and stay the course. And I'd be very happy if they would do that. I jokingly said that's all I want for Christmas, another Ohio State national championship.
That's not asking. That is not asking too much. I'm gonna add Richie in. I don't know. He says he can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear Rich or not.
Can you hear me?
I think I heard something in the background.
Yeah, that's Rich. He might be faint because of just the little bit of a clunky setup I got, but
that's okay.
But if that's all you got, I will let you enjoy the evening, and we'll open the phones back up. I appreciate your call, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, no problem.
Yep, take care.
Yep, bye. All right, Rich. Heard from Jake.
All right, Duke.
Heard from Jake there. He just wants a Ohio State national championship for Christmas. He's not asking for too much, right?
I am asking for a victory up in Ann Arbor early Christmas present next Saturday.
Yeah, we could see that. Man, I hope so. I'm rooting for you, but it's going to be, I think that game's going to be a dogfight no matter what.
Yeah,
also,
it's not, I mean, Michigan's 8-2. What? They're 8-2, right?
Yeah. So
it's go ahead.
It's Michigan wins, Michigan goes to the playoffs.
Oh yeah, they're in.
So there's that. Also, take this time to let everybody know the phone lines are open. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. And if you made it this far into the show, do us the biggest favor and hit that like and subscribe button. That also helps us grow the platform. Appreciate everybody, especially appreciate Jake calling in. But I guess we'll dive right into this topic. The LSU saga, the soap opera that does not quit.
It's like a bad movie that just keeps replaying and replaying, Duke.
Oh, I know. It's very bizarre. It's not that I say I don't get it, but it's just like, you want to say the AD didn't have the ability to fire him, and then you fire him, and then you're saying it's for cause.
Where's that in litigation right now? I mean, do they go to court yet?
As I'm reading through the article, it's just mainly talking about Jeff Landry's comments, and then Kelly filed a lawsuit on the 19th because they're, I guess, not going to pay him. So
I mean, that's I mean, they agreed to a contract. They're kind of violating the contract there by not paying the buyout.
But my thing is how do you say you fired him for cause? What did he do?
Yeah, you're gonna have to prove what's for cause. Yeah,
you're gonna have to prove it, and then also breaking on ESPN.com is well, it's not breaking news, but I guess Bo Perbula's on track to possibly play against Oklahoma. But I don't like Missouri's chances going down to Norman.
But here's the thing with that. Penn State fans would love him right now.
Oh, if Drink loses?
No. I'm saying they could, since Aller went down. Bo Pribula is not a bad quarterback. They could have used him.
Yeah, but see, that's the world of the transfer portal. He had to make a decision, and Aller came back.
Yep.
And Aller came back, and that's just the way it fell. I think that, going forward, as I'm watching some of this, I know this is off topic, but as I'm watching some of this NC State, Florida State.
That was a good catch.
I think we're going to see Florida State lose. And if they don't win next week,
I think they've given up.
But they don't. Here's the thing with Florida State. They don't have I don't think they've got the funds to get rid of Norvell. I mean, are they really going to...
For as big as a program as Florida State is? I mean, it's kind of shocking.
Also, this Baylor thing's really bizarre. Baylor has came out and said they're going to retain Dave Aranda, and they've parted ways with the athletic director, which I find that interesting. He did something to a player on the sideline. I've seen bits and pieces. I don't think there's a video out there. He grabbed a player and got into a physical altercation with a player and a coach, and he was also chairman of the college football playoff committee as well.
Not a good look.
I think the Kiffin stuff's going to get weird. I think it's going to get ugly down there.
I foresee that too. It's just going to be one giant media circus, and I think the people at Ole Miss, they're just going to be like, just go, man, just go.
Yeah, because see, this is what I hate, that where I think this is going to fall completely apart is I think that Kiffin is going to announce that he's staying, and when Texas comes open, he's going to bolt. He's going to bolt. I could see it.
It's going to piss a lot of people off in Oxford.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. It looks like my lighting's bad. I'm trying to fix that as we're talking here, but is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so we got another call.
Oh, I thought it was my phone. I was like, crap, who's calling me on my phone?
Hello, caller. Who do we have?
We have Roger looking for Chris Williams.
Roger looking for Chris Williams, huh?
Yeah.
That is right. How are we tonight?
Oh, we're doing well.
Good.
So, what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about tonight? College.
We're thinking about Ohio State. Thinking about the quarterback. Do we think he's going to be able to pull through, or are they going to be able to give him enough explosive plays to pull him up in the Heisman ranking this weekend?
Here's the biggest obstacle in Julian Sain's way. It is a guy named Jerry Emick that doesn't do any promotion for the Heisman Trophy. He does not. He does not help the kids win awards, and it is pretty much all on them to win the awards. And I also think the quarterback at Ohio State, with having the best weapons in the country, it's going to be very hard not to pick the kid with the best numbers. But I also think that he's got some serious competition. I think he's got Marcel Reed that is
I agree.
That's going to be in New York. I think, for me personally, I think Trinidad Chambliss should be in the Heisman contention, to say the least. A Division II guy comes to the SEC and completely starts out the year not a starter, and then he goes in and has been playing lights out. They lost on the road at Georgia, but winning on the road at Georgia is tough. So you kind of got that working against you. But I think Marcel Reed's definitely going to have the numbers. Like last week, he went for, I believe it was like 439 yards or something crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't think Julian Sains had his Heisman moment. Now, the one thing I will push back on is that I think until they should give the Heisman Trophy away after the college football playoff, period.
I agree. That was the follow-up question, timing, if they should switch it. So, no, appreciate it. Just curious the thoughts. We'll see if they can open the playbook a little bit and give them some shots to shine.
I think they're saving the playbook for next Saturday.
That could be fair. Richie says they are saving the playbook for next Saturday. I don't disagree with that. I also feel that if they go out and hang a good number on Rutgers, I think if he plays a close game at Michigan to where he wills the team to win, he's gonna have a shot at it. I definitely am not going to rule out Julian Sayin possibly winning the Heisman, but I just think it's going to be tough because I think Ohio State has one of the best rosters in college football.
Agreed.
So
don't disagree, and agree with Richard's feedback on it as well.
But
I think for Heisman, it's Sayin, Reese, Fernando from Indiana, and Love. I think those are the four candidates.
We lost them.
Oh, we lost them.
We lost them. But caller, if you want to call back, call back. I don't know if that was on my end or on his.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
But I think
NC State just scored.
Hold on. I'm sending a text here. I think Diego Pavia is a dark horse to get to New York.
You think like we'll just bring him in just to save face?
No. I don't think it's one of those deals, but also tonight we do have a hard out of 9:00 as well. Phone line is open if you want to call. Get your call in. Do have that hard out at 9. Yeah, I think Pavia should have a fighting chance. I think the 3:30 game between Arkansas and Texas is going to get interesting. Just as I'm looking at it, how
about most like the big? Oh, we got another one.
Yeah. What's up, Joe?
Yo, ma.
Gigolo Joe, what do you know?
What's going on, my friend?
Well, I gotta give my 2 cents on Pavia. I think he should win it. I think he's the best player this year. And because if you were to take every other guy that's being mentioned for the Heisman out of the lineup, and you were to take Pavia out of his lineup for his team, what would their records be? You know, Pavia is the whole team.
Yeah.
Good case in point. Good case in point.
That's a good point. I also, here's where I'm at on the Pavia stuff. I think Vanderbilt is playing really well on defense, and I think it would be really, really hard to argue that they would not have any wins if Pavia was not there. I don't think they win as many games, but I think they win some games, if that makes sense.
I don't see how they'd be the same old Vanderbilt we've come to know and love without Pavia. You know, it's like, well, Vanderbilt, too bad they have to get their ass kicked in the SEC every year, you know?
Here's where I'm thinking. I think the proof in the concept will be after Pavia's gone, if they have another guy that can come in there and duplicate the success.
Yeah, and another thing to your point is that Clark Lee is very good at defense. He knows what to do.
Yeah, and I think he went in there, he hired Jerry Kill, and I think that it was a wild success.
Well, it's hard to say, you know, it's hard to know what goes on in meetings and who's designing defenses. I have a feeling Clark Lee came in and here's what he explained for what he wants his defensive coordinator to focus on, you know? And then from there, he can listen in on the calls that the guy's making. And if he's doing okay, he'll let him go, but he'll step in as soon as he has a hair to disagree about. He'll take over the call because he's just that kind of guy, you know. He's intense. He doesn't really show it, but that guy's intense.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a former Notre Dame defensive coordinator, in which a lot of former Kelly assistants are having a ton of success this year. Look at Mike Elko. Look at Clark Lee. He could have two guys possibly be in the college football playoff while Brian Kelly is in a legal battle with LSU.
How long do you think that's going to drag out?
Yeah,
a while. I think it's going to be.
Kelly was he was a good manager. He just didn't have he doesn't have what it takes to win, you know. He's a good manager. That's all I can credit him with, really. He knows how to organize. And, you know, I can't really get all pissed off at him because he did build a culture, you know, that they were in chaos before he got there. So he was able to kind of do some very good things in his first half of his term. Like his first 6 years probably was his best, but then certainly the last 4 years, you know, I think that's where you saw he was there too long.
Yeah, that was something that I had brought up with one of the earlier callers. I said sometimes when you have a coach that is at the helm for so long and it starts to go a little mediocre, it could be one of those deals to where the program just needs a different voice, a different direction.
Yeah, I think there's truth to that because you become stagnant, comfortable, and you know it's like that guy you talk about a lot, Gundy, over at Oklahoma State, right?
Right.
He was there a long time, and you know he did some good things. He was kind of an interesting guy to watch build his team, and they had the occasional upsets in their conferences, and they were typically competitive. But you know, in his last, I don't know, probably 3 years for sure, he took a big dive. But probably his last 5 years were 5 too many.
Yeah, I mean Kelly did take him to the playoffs in 2018.
Yeah, and he got there in like 2010. 2010.
Yeah, there was some. It was funny. There was a couple of players that came out and talked about the Brian Kelly situation because they said that he had told some players at Cincinnati that he was staying and that he wasn't leaving, and then he ended up leaving.
Poof. Yeah. It was poof in the night. Just like he did after Stanford game for Notre Dame.
Well, yeah.
He just went poof in the night. And then his thing was the next morning when the whole team already knew it, he made the comment he met with the team for about 15 minutes and just was like, I'm out of here. It's like, sorry, boys.
Yeah.
I got millions waiting for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did sign that $100 million contract. And
Duke, I feel like that's going to be coming in Oxford. We're going to see the same situation.
Richie, are you on with us?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear Richie or not.
What the hell?
I can't hear him. No, is he talking? I'm sorry.
I'm trying. Yeah,
I didn't interrupt him.
He's trying, but it might be because he doesn't have a mixer. I got to look and do some studying on that. On how exactly that would work, but
yeah, you take outside calls with the both of you being able to hear from the outside caller.
Because he can hear you, but he can't talk to you. That's
right. I haven't heard anything. If he's talked, I haven't heard anything.
So I gotta get that figured out. So just a little more R&D, but I guess since we're winding it down, what games are you recording this week, Joe?
Oh, that's a good question. I can tell you in a minute. Hang on a second here. I gotta turn you down. I don't have too many games this week. USC Oregon for sure, but I have to look it up and see what I got going here. Hang on a second. Give me a moment to get to that screen.
Because I was thinking probably Missouri, Oklahoma.
Yeah, USC. Oh, I'm taping right now the girls basketball. I think USC Notre Dame. Let's see. College game day, big noon kickoff. Yeah, Missouri, Oklahoma at 9. Syracuse, Notre Dame at 12:30. USC, Oregon at 12:30. Kansas State, Utah at 1:00. Nebraska, Penn State, just for the heck of it, because they have two names you recognize, right? Yeah. It might be a good battle, actually. And then Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech. I do Cal Stanford because I always watch that. Because when I first moved out here to Northern California, that game with that crazy touchdown at the last play of the game where there was like 15 handoffs and they were running through the band, that's right when I moved here. It was hilarious. And then I got BYU, Cincinnati.
That'll be a good game.
And Washington, UCLA. I think Washington, UCLA is going to be a good game too. And that's it. So I got about 10 games probably.
I think one of the games that may end up being a bloodbath is the Colorado-Arizona State deal.
Yeah, I was going to tape that. That's like one of the last games of the night. I still might tape it. It depends on how, far along I get watching. I get so burned out, because I start at 9 a.m. with that. But I only think there's only like one game at 9 for me to watch. Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma.
And then that's the 12 o'clock for you guys. And then the Notre Dame's at 12:30 with USC at the same time. I'm glad CBS finally has a good game to show,
Yeah, well, I think they were tired of being, getting crushed in the ratings.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I like Gary Danielson. I think I'm going to miss him. I think he leaves after this year, but he was really smart. Like, he was calling plays all the time, like before they happen, and he catches everything that's going on in the play. I just really enjoy when he does the game. And his guy that does the game with him, he doesn't do a lot of personal opinions. Like, the only thing I can't stand about the announcing these days is that these guys that do the play-by-play, there's the play-by-play and the color guy, right?
Yeah.
The play-by-play guy is supposed to shut the F up,
right.
and let the color guy talk about the game because he's the expert. But the play-by-play guys from ESPN, they have to they talk more than the color guys. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
Your job is to do what the play was.
Yeah.
That annoys me to no end.
And I watch a lot of games on mute, so I know
On what?
On mute. I'll mute the announcing.
Oh, yeah, that's good. When it comes down to like the championship games, when there's like the Final Four, I think what they do is they have these different guy casts, and then they have guys on the sidelines, doing the play, talking to ex-players and stuff. That's kind of interesting.
Right.
Because they're just having fun there on the sideline. But the Skycast for me is the best one because that's where you only hear the guy in the stadium that calls what the play was. And that's all you hear. He'll say second down and whatever. But, like pass from two to do for so many yards. And that's all I need to hear because these guys aren't teaching me anything that are doing the announcing, except for Danielson. I like Gary Danielson telling me what's going on there because he knows he played. He was a great college player and he was a very good pro player. He was on Detroit Lions when they were nothing, but he made them decent.
Right. I thought Richie says he thought the McAfee broadcast was good last year with
McElroy. You mean? McElroy?
Pat McAfee.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
he's.
I like McElroy.
Yeah, Greg McElroy. Yeah, I get you on that. But yeah, I think the McAfee stuff is very, very interesting. I think he's a person that tries to draw in a younger crowd for all intents and purposes. I think that's what that is.
I'm just not like, it's just so frustrating to be a college football fan, and ESPN owns all these games. Like, for the most part, they own every of the, let's say the 10 games I'm watching, 7 of them are going to be ESPN affiliated, ABC, 206 or 209, the ESPN or ESPN2, it's like, that's where most of the ball games come from. They might throw in a Fox game that I'll tape, and then the CBS game, and then Notre Dame on NBC. But, for the most part, it's at least 50% at ESPN that you have to listen to.
Right.
But McElroy should be the number one guy, but they got Herbstreit, who I can't stand. Sorry, Richie, but I can't stand him. And his co-host drives me crazy too, because they both hate Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, Reese Davis. Is that
not Reese Davis? It's that Chris somebody.
Chris Fowler's with
Yeah, Fowler.
But Fowler hates Ohio State. He hates Michigan. Chris Fowler is kind of a hater.
Well, he's a Colorado graduate.
Is Chris Fowler is he a Colorado graduate?
Yeah.
Oh, that's news to me.
And he graduated right around the time of Herbstreit, and that's when Notre Dame was great. And they gave one game, Notre Dame played them, the Buffaloes, and they got called for these stupid fouls where the guy was like way behind the play, and they made a call on him, and the Colorado guy wound up taking it pretty far away, but the game would have been over had he not called that play foul on the Notre Dame guy this was like 92 or so, but I remember it because that's when I was, in my prime, like what the age you guys are. But yeah, so I know he hates Notre Dame in a big way. But Herb Street also is the same way. Like, I don't think Notre Dame gave him an offer, and I think he resented them ever since that, because that's right when Notre Dame was really good. And it was like from 88 to 93, 94, I would say. They were really good. And that's when Herb Street was, in college.
Gotcha. So we're getting close to that time. Any final thoughts, Joe, before me and Richie wrap up the show on this?
No, just another good weekend of football. I didn't realize I was taping that many games. I didn't think there were that many good ones, but I'm just a freak of the game. So if it's a good battle, even if they're not teams that are going to be fighting for playoffs, I still watch them, because it, like Nebraska, Penn State, for example, like they're both probably out of it. So, but then again, it's a good matchup, so it'd be interesting to watch. That's about it. I like watching. Yeah. All right.
But any with the parting words, Joe, if we don't talk before Thanksgiving, have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk
Thank you very
to
much.
you later, Joe. Appreciate the call, my friend.
You bet, dude. Have a great one.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Hey, we're the leader of the pack tonight, Rich. I think I know how to solve your problem.
Yeah.
You might have to get a mixer, but then I got to do some more research on it to see how you would be able to hear it since you're remote.
Okay.
But I was afraid that was going to be the fear, but
it's all right. Hey, it's all trial and error, dude. So
I think I think you gotta have a mixer. But one controversial thing, as I'm reading on Instagram, at Jacob Scott Davis puts out there, CFB alerts threw this out there. This is the teams that Notre Dame has beaten: 2-9 Purdue, 2-8 Arkansas, 6-4 Boise, 5-5 NC State, 8-2 USC, 1-10 Boston College, 8-2 Navy, and 7-3 Pitt. They still had 3-7 Stanford and 3-7 Syracuse at home. Their only losses are 8-2 Miami and 10-0 Texas A&M. And at the bottom of it, CFP contenders, they're not top 20. Is this a controversial take? What are you thinking, Rich?
Well, I mean, these schedules are so done in way in advance. Like it's hard to say how good these teams will be. It's tough. I mean, you're scheduling. Ohio State, they scheduled teams out. I remember, with Texas, that was 5 or 6 years, and they were ranked number 1. And as the course of the season went through, Texas was not worth their salt this year. So it's tough to predict how good these teams will be when they schedule them so far.
Well, and I think that in lies a lot of the problem, because you have so many teams that are scheduled so far out. Like, who would have thought Boise State would have been bad this year? I mean, you just kind of really, you just don't know.
Right. And that's the thing. It's all a crapshoot. I mean, like, people scheduling Indiana at our conference games. Who would have thought Indiana would have been the number 2 ranked team in the nation right now?
Right. I think that
but that's thanks all to the portal leveling everything out, dude.
Yeah, the portal has leveled a lot of things out. I'm not really shocked there. He says, right, Duke, UVA good or decent anyway. The UVA thing is going to be fascinating on how the ACC shakes out at the end of the year. I hate to be that guy, but I don't think we're going to know until that selection Sunday on what the ACC bids look like, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
I think the ACC and Big 12 are one bid leagues.
Yeah.
I know what people are gonna. Joe says makes the conference look bad. Well, I know it makes the conference look bad, but seriously though, how many schools are fully invested in football in the ACC?
I wouldn't, not
Florida,
many.
Florida State, Miami,
Clemson,
SMU,
maybe Pitt. Maybe.
No, Pitt is
No?
not a serious program. No, they have a complete. Pitt's not a serious program. Based on Narduzzi's comments about you're playing Notre Dame and it's not a big game because it's not a conference game. Okay, how'd that work out for you? Like
Exactly. You got curb stomped.
So you're not a serious program at that point, in my opinion. You're just not serious. It makes it look bad. It's a terrible look. And I know there's going to be people out there that are going to be irked by it, but Pitt, you're not a serious program. You are relatively a MAC school.
That's maybe just a little step above a MAC school, dude. Just a little bit. Let's give the MAC some type of credit. It ain't the Sun Belt.
I think the Sun Belt would dog walk the MAC.
Nah, man.
No way. No way. No way.
Maction, they got a fire in their belly and they're playing balls out every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. I think they'd school the Sun Belt.
No. I think as the conference rankings, I think in the conference rankings where it's at, I feel. Let me look at this. I think of the conference rankings, I think CUSA, Conference USA, is last. I think they have the least amount of football investment. Then I think it's the MAC. Then the Mountain West. Then the Sun Belt. Then the American. Unless you want to count whatever the new Pac-12 is going to be, but I think it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I agree with Matt McChesney. He says they should elevate 6 schools from FCS, all 4 of the Dakota schools and 2 of the Montana schools, and put them in the Mountain West.
I agree with that too. They should.
I think that fixes the problem in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
But Northern Illinois is going to be in the Mountain West. Like, what are you doing?
I don't get that one. Why they're going? I mean, I get it, but that geographically it doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, that's the same with the Big Ten. Like, you got all these West Coast schools, but
well, that's just like the Atlantic Coast Conference having Stanford and Cal. But
yep.
That
what
is,
do we know?
Yeah. Last thing before we wrap this up, Joe says I think Florida State and Miami both throw the towel as far as supporting the teams if they don't have a good season. Yeah, Florida fans are fair weather. They are fair weather. That is true. He does have a massive point there because Doak Campbell when
they had the Crab King down there,
it was rocking.
It was rocking. Yep. My buddy was SID down there. Yep.
Yeah. So I think for the most part, I think I'm going to add. I'm contemplating. I guess we'll talk through this before we end the show. Should I add the USC Oregon watch party in? because
Can't
I'm
hurt
doing.
because it's the first really great CBS game we've had all year.
Yeah, I was just curious if I should.
It's not much. I'm gonna watch that one too after Ohio State. Well, I'll have 4 screens up, so it don't matter.
Yeah, I was thinking about adding USC Oregon in there because I'm gonna do the Tennessee Florida and leave the phone lines open. That should be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess we can go ahead and end it on this Friday night. Appreciate everybody for watching. If you made it this far in the podcast, do us the biggest favor and hit that like and subscribe button and help us grow this channel. We are growing slowly but surely. Appreciate everybody. And if you guys don't tune back in before Thanksgiving, we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow, possibly at 3:30.
Have a great night, everybody.
All right.